Hello world, welcome to a new video of BuildDev Tours channel. BuildDev Tours is a tour operator located in Ecuador, specialized on community and cultural tourism, seeking to promote development of Ecuador. Of course, taking into account always the sustainability of the territories and their cultures. I am Luis Velázquez Pazmiño, and during the last 6 years, I've been working with immigration to Ecuador. Today's video is about that area. And yes, if you are seeking for information or assistance with immigration to Ecuador, you may write me via email to info@builddevtours.com or via any of BuildDev Tours social media. Today's video is about a topic that many of you have asked for. And so if you have any idea or question about any topic that you would like to watch here on this channel, you may leave your comment in the comment section. I'll be reading all comments. Today's video is about the professional visa, which is one of the main types of temporary residency visas for living in Ecuador. I have already made a general video about visas for living in Ecuador. If you haven't watched that video yet, after finishing this video, you may find link to that video on the comment section. The professional temporary residency visa is a visa that is valid for 2 years. In the past, the professional visa was permanent. So if you find information about the permanent professional residency visa, that is dated information. Nowadays, the professional temporary residency visa is valid for 2 years. There is also dated information about a special list of universities for which the degree was approved automatically. That is also dated information. This information in this video is updated to May 2022. Today, in 2022, if you would like to get a permanent residency visa for Ecuador from the very beginning, you would need to have a relative that is a permanent resident of Ecuador or that is an Ecuadorian citizen. All types of temporary residency visas have a basis document for which a person is eligible if they do have this basis document. The basis document for the professional temporary residency visa is a degree, college or university degree. It could be a bachelor's, master's, or PhD, or even an associate's degree. The level of the degree won't really affect the eligibility for Ecuador as long as you meet all of the requirements. And that is what I'm going to talk about in this video. Before continuing, please let me talk about these very important aspects that you need to take into account about the professional temporary residency visa. First, please do not take this video as legal advice. There are some minor additional details about the professional temporary residency visa, depending on your degree, on your country of origin, that I am not mentioning in this video. In this video, I am mentioning the basic criteria of eligibility. And so, if you meet these basic criteria of eligibility, you can continue looking for information about the professional residency visa, or you may send me an email to info@builddevtours.com for customized consultation. Also, please take into account that regulations might change for when you watch this video. Unlikely anytime soon, but possible. And so remember, this information is updated to May 2022. If there are any major changes, I will let you know. And for that, I invite you to subscribe to this channel and activate the bell to be up to date with the information. Secondly, you are allowed to work with this professional residency visa, but you're not obligated to do so. For example, this is very important for expats who are retired already and don't get the minimum income required now for the retiree visa, which is of $1,275. If you are a retired person that gets, for example, retirement benefits of $800 a month, you are eligible for the professional visa as long as you have a college or university degree. This is an alternative option. You don't need to have $1,275 a month for getting the professional temporary residency visa. And with the professional residency visa, you do have the same rights and benefits that with a retiree visa. Unlike other countries, for getting the professional residency visa in Ecuador, you do not need a job offer. What you need to have is your degree and get it registered by the Ecuadorian government. If you have a family but only you have the degree, you may still bring your family with you, but you will need an income of minimum $425 plus $250 per each relative that is coming with you to get their own visas as dependents on your visa. If you're coming alone, for the moment, there is not minimum requirement income, so no problem. As I mentioned before, you don't need to have the $1,275 income a month for being able to get the professional temporary residency visa. You only need to have your degree registered by the Ecuadorian government. And yes, you will still be able to apply for the permanent residency visa once you have being in Ecuador for 21 months with a temporary residency visa. But I will speak about that later in a future video that is exclusively about permanent residency visas in Ecuador. So please remember to subscribe to the channel. And finally, and I am coming clean about this because I talk about all aspects of Ecuador, and also because many of you have asked me about this. If you are looking for this visa to find a job in Ecuador, to look for a job in Ecuador, my recommendation is that you don't do it. And if you don't speak Spanish and your intention is to come to Ecuador to look for a job, even more, simply don't do it. The unemployment situation in Ecuador right now is very complicated and the salaries are very low. So I am telling you this because many people are lucky and they find jobs, but many more people think they are going to find a good salary quickly and they are going to have a good life in Ecuador with a job in Ecuador, and then when they are here they face a complicated truth. If you have the capital for starting up a business, you could do it. There are many sectors in which you can start up your own business, of course after a good market analysis. But if you are wanting to look for a job here in Ecuador, my recommendation is that you don't do it. Of course you could do it, but I'm just simply giving you my humble recommendation. What you could do in that case is look for a remote job for a company overseas and work here. Many young expats and not so young, they are working for companies overseas out of Ecuador, and they are getting a good salary that allows them to have a good living here in Ecuador. So that's an option you could investigate about. But looking for a job in Ecuador for an Ecuadorian company is very complicated. Okay, that having been said, the requirements for the professional temporary residency visa are as follows: diploma, transcripts, mode of study letter, criminal background checks of the countries in which you have lived during the last 5 years, and the registration of the degree before the Ecuadorian government. As I mentioned initially, for being eligible for the professional temporary residency visa, you would need a bachelor's, master's, or PhD degree. A higher degree won't really be an advantage or something that will add points to your professional residency visa application. A PhD actually will require an extra document, which is a digital and editable version of your PhD thesis. Regarding the associate's degree, you can apply for the professional residency visa if you register the degree with the Ecuadorian government. But the Ecuadorian government will require that the curriculum of your studies for the associate's degree has a similar or almost exact same curriculum as your associate's degree studies. So that's why it is a little bit complicated, because the associate's degree is something relatively new here in Ecuador. All of the documents must be duly legalized and apostilled. The fact of if the document needs a legalization or an apostille will depend on the country of origin of the document. And of course, I can assist you with that if you need any further assistance. The first step to be taken in the process of applying for a professional temporary residency visa is to collect your university documents, which are the diploma, which has to be the original diploma, which has to get an apostille or a legalization. However, in countries like the US or Canada, it is not too common to get the original diploma apostille. In that case, you would need to get a copy, a certified copy, and that certified copy has to be issued by the university's registrar. The transcripts, you need the original transcripts issued by the university's registrar. And the mode of study letter, which is the document that is sometimes the most complicated for many people because you don't usually have it. It is a document that you request to your university. It is a customized document. It is a document or a letter, a certificate issued by the university by someone competent, most times the university's registrar, that indicates the date of beginning of your studies, the date of ending of your studies. It must have your full name as on your passport, and most importantly, it must have the mode of your studies, whether they were online, on campus, mailing. That must be in the certificate. I know there are cases in which this information is different. For example, when a woman changed her last name after getting married and the diploma has the maiden name, or cases in which a person studying more than one university and therefore will have more than one transcript. In that case, you may send me an email for asking for further assistance. Also, please note that degrees related to health areas require extra documentation, but I won't mention that documentation here because that would require an exclusive video to talk only about registration of health degrees in Ecuador. It is another process which is a little bit more complicated. Also, not all degrees are accepted in distance mode. For example, the health degrees, impossible that they are studied online, or other technical areas such as mechanics, for example. If the university documents are in a language different to Spanish or English, they must be translated to Spanish. Please note that in any case, the diploma, only the diploma, will need to be translated to Spanish later for the visa application. For submitting the documents to the Ecuadorian government, to the institution called CENESID, that process is done only here in Ecuador in person. It can be done by anyone, so if you need assistance, you may send me an email and we can talk about that. The governmental institution, CENESID, which takes care of all of this process, will approve the request of registration if all of the documents are correct 2 to 4 weeks later after submission of the documents. They won't hold your documents or your original documents, they will keep copies, but they will need to see the original apostille or legalized documents for verifying the copies that they will keep. Once the degree is approved and registered, you will be able to apply for the professional temporary residency visa, for which you will need to schedule an appointment at the system of the Immigration Ministry. If the degree is rejected, then CENESID will send you an email 2 to 4 weeks later with a justification, with a reason of the rejection. And remember, this is not legal advice. This video is about the basic criteria of eligibility for the professional temporary residency visa. And so if you meet these requirements that I mentioned here, if you meet this basic criteria, you can keep looking for information about the professional residency visa, or you may write me an email to info@wildevtours.com for personalized, customized consultation. If you found this video useful, please remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel for further information about the richness of Ecuador and also for life in Ecuador in general. There will be more content about Ecuador coming, of course. And if you have any suggestions, please feel free. Thank you very much for watching the video to this point. I really appreciate it, and see you in the next occasion. Bye bye.